Alright, good afternoon. My name is Neville Paris. I'm in the Ryan 1200 class with Mr. Robert Wilson. That's our professor. I take the class over at Hickam. This is about my research paper. The first paper is looking at the correlation between high school dropouts and family structure. Over the last 30 or so years, the family structure in the United States has changed dramatically. When I talk about family structure, I'm mostly looking at the traditional, or what the media will portray as a traditional family structure. Most religious groups will do the same thing. One father, one mother, then you have your children. Family structure has changed for there's a lot more single mothers nowadays, actually single fathers, due to divorce, death, and what have you. Mostly it's because of divorce. A lot of single parents are around now because they just have not gotten married. They're cohabitating, or actually a lot of times with kids, they're not cohabitating. I was looking at different factors. I was trying to research different factors for the first paper as far as the difference of having a father and a mother in the home towards having foster parents, having grandparents raise the kids, having single parents but the father's still involved, having single parents when the father's not involved. Also looking at from the standpoint of same-sex parents, two men, two women, whatever. Also adolescent mothers. A lot of times young girls have babies and the father 2 years from down the road is not involved in the child's life, not actively involved in the child's life. So that was the main points I was trying to find in my first paper. It was a little difficult to research. A lot of research is mainly based that I found on race, looking at African Americans, looking at Latinos, also a lot of looking at the economic scale. How did the economics affect high school dropouts? Everything came back though that I found to one single factor. Having two parents was an advantage to the children. It doesn't mean the children of the two-parent household did not face the same problems. It's the likelihood of those problems will not rise up. Also, I found that a lot of the indicators for children dropping out of high school actually start showing up before they even reach high school. We're in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We start to see these indicators that these children might be high school dropouts in the future. Now, these indicators could not accurately predict if a child would drop out of high school, but it was something to look at. It was, to me, it's a little eye-opener. I never thought of it as going back that far, but it makes sense. If you build a house, you want a good foundation. If you have a weak foundation, the winds blow, your house falls down. It's pretty much how it works. So in the long run, overall it did make sense. Also looked at gay parents. For the most part, there wasn't a lot of research on two parents in the home of the same sex race and a child that I could find. There was some articles were more pro-gay and anti-gay, I would say, and pro-gay, but they were more opinion-based, so for the most part, couldn't use those. And they didn't show a lot of facts, also, so it was just pretty much quoting their religions, quoting the way they were raised and why it worked. It didn't show numbers and measurable facts, actually. But I did find it was interesting about same-sex parents. Their children actually graduate at a normal rate. It wasn't far more lower or far more higher than having one father, one mother. It was interesting to me because what you hear in the media, you hear from your religious leaders and stuff like that, these children are in a world of trouble. So what I did find about them, children were a little smarter or streetwise about who they shared their information with. The most information I found about same-sex parents were that the father pretty much came out and said he was gay after he was married to a woman, had a family. Then he realized, or he probably already knew, he was just trying to hide it, that he was gay. All right, so these gentlemen finally came out. Most time the effect on children was so much on the school, was on the emotional side, because they thought, why they hide this from me? Why is he lying? Their children also were pretty smart, the ones that they interviewed and studied. They knew who to tell about their homosexual parents and who not to tell. So bullying wasn't a really, really big issue. So the kids actually graduated the same, right? The biggest wowzer, well, it wasn't really a wowzer, some already knew. The kids who had the most trouble as far as graduating high school were children of adolescent parents. And 9 times out of 10, the father's not involved afterwards. When I say adolescent, I'm looking at the 13, 14, 15-year-old, and even sometimes 12-year-old. These kids, having a baby early also was a pre-indicator for dropping out of high school. And their children, when they grow up, because they don't have the example, and the parents are working, so 9 times out of, I keep saying 9 times out of 10, but majority of times, unless you're a star athlete or a musician, you're not going to make the good money to support a family. So these children are raised in poverty. Most of the research I found, poverty was the biggest indicator for why children drop out of high school. Pretty much was a vicious cycle. Parents were uneducated, the child was uneducated. And it's kind of crazy thinking where we come from, where in the past parents were uneducated, the children were educated, and they got higher and higher and higher. Again, some of it was an economic thing as far as lack of funding for schools. Parents don't have the funding to send their kids to better schools if their schools were failing. And some of it just, they don't have the time to spend with their kids to make sure their work was getting done. Mainly because they're working more than one job to make the ends meet. For the most part, those children were almost, not I want to say guaranteed, but they're almost flagged automatically for dropping out of high school even before they reach elementary school. That's another big thing that I found was very, very interesting, that they can find out what there are flags in children starting from way down to 3rd, 4th, 5th grade saying this child's going to drop out of high school. I thought that's pretty interesting. So my second paper, well, that was based on my first paper. My second paper is going pretty much saying how we can fix the high school dropout, how we can correct that situation. Pretty much what I want to go into is pretty much what I'm looking at saying is stressing the importance of education, pretty much showing stats of why graduating high school is important as far as economically, how we can fix it far more as far as stressing to the children. Not just the children, actually, to the parents, why their child should graduate from high school. And maybe we should provide more support for the parents, programs for single parents that help them as far as getting tutoring for the children, make sure children's homework is getting done. Maybe more funding for schools to provide counselors for these children. These children tend to have more emotional problems. They tend to get in trouble more. And also get the law enforcement involved. Instead, you see news law enforcement right now, especially like the Ferguson, New York City, many law enforcement get involved, showing children what happens if you don't finish high school. You're more likely to commit crimes and things of that nature when you're uneducated. Why? Because when your stomach is growling, you got to eat, and eventually it's going to come to a point where you're going to make a tough decision, and it's going to be the wrong decision. So also get law enforcement involved, more police mentoring far as that, taking some children under their wing, helping them out with their homework also too. I think more support for teachers. Teachers need to have the supplies to teach, leeway to teach. I know my mother worked in the school board for 30 some years in Philadelphia, and they had too many restrictions. I'm not saying teachers should be able to spank children, but they need to be able to reach out and touch the kids as far as sitting down, talking with them, see what's going on at home, and helping them. A lot of times, even if teacher breaks the rules and does this, there's no avenues for her to help the child out, especially the child's from a low economic family. So we have ways in that matter to help the children out far further and ensure graduating from high school. Because in the long run, studies all show these children, like I said, most likely commit crimes, most likely have children early because they're following a cycle that we need to break. And it comes a burden on society. You got welfare, you cut down a lot of your welfare costs if we had a high educated workforce. And if they able to make more money, they support their families. There won't be such a need of a government assistance. Also, taxpayers have to pay for housing prisoners and things of that nature. I think we spend more money on schools and less on prisons. It would be a big improvement in society as a whole. I'm not saying we shouldn't be tough on crime or anything like that. I never would say that. But I think we have a lot of private prisons, a lot of tax dollars going to prisons, but we underfund schools. Make sure teachers in all school districts are paid a decent wage. There are some school districts, I taught some teachers here in Hawaii, if you got a family, this is not the place to be a teacher at. So, and I'm talking about mostly elementary school teachers and some high school teachers. That's pretty much what I will be presenting in my second paper, ways to correct that situation. All right, thank you for listening.